Okay, let's jump right into Psalm 44 for this deep dive. It's a text that really starts by pulling us deep into memory, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The psalmist kicks off immediately, taking us back to this foundational story passed down through generations.
Yeah, this story about how their ancestors actually settled the land. And the crucial point, right from the start, is that it wasn't, by their own strength.
That's the key. That's what's so striking. They talk about hearing how God himself drove out nations, how he planted their people. The focus is completely on God's action.
Not human effort.
No, not military might. The psalm is really explicit. It says something like, not by their sword that they won the land, or their own arm giving them victory.
Wait, the text puts it beautifully. It was your right hand, your arm, and the light of your face, for you loved them. It just sets up this absolute contrast from the get-go.
A contrast between what?
Between trusting in, say, weapons or your own power versus this complete trust in God alone.
And they really lean into this in those first verses. They declare God is their king, the one who decrees victories for Jacob.
There's real confidence there. Like,
Right.
through you, we push back our enemies.
Exactly. And then that very personal line, I do not trust in my bow, my sword does not bring me victory. It's a total reliance on God based on that history.
So this first part, verses 1 through 8 roughly, is all anchored in this confident remembering God's past triumphs, undeniable ones.
It's a declaration, a boast even. In God we make our boast all day long, they say, and we will praise your name forever. This is their solid ground, their history.
But then, it just turns on a dime, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Here's where the psalm takes this really dramatic, almost jarring turn. After building that foundation, it pivots with one phrase. But now...
And wow, the contrast couldn't be sharper. But now you have rejected and humbled us. You no longer go out with our armies. Suddenly, it's a completely different picture.
It really is. What follows is just this brutal list of their current reality. They're retreating, being plundered, scattered among the nations like sheep.
Helpless sheep. And even sold cheaply. Like they have no value.
Yeah, and the impact isn't just military or political. It hits their social standing, their identity.
How so?
Well, they've become a reproach, a scorn, a derision. People mock them. They're a byword among the nations, basically. A joke, an example of failure that people literally shake their heads at.
You can feel the shame and disgrace just pouring off the page. It feels deeply personal, not just national.
It does. But here's the real kicker. The central puzzle, maybe, of this psalm,
Which is?
the psalmist insists all this terrible stuff is happening despite their faithfulness. They actually say, all this happened to us, though we had not forgotten you or been false to your covenant.
They claim they haven't strayed. Their hearts, their feet, stayed on God's path. That's what makes it so confusing, right?
Exactly. It challenges any simple cause and effect. Like, if you're faithful, only good things happen. They believe they are loyal, yet they're experiencing what looks like divine abandonment. Punishment, even.
And the language they use to describe it, it's intense.
Incredibly intense. Crushed us and made us a haunt for jackals. That suggests, utter desolation, ruined land, wild animals taking over.
It's just emptiness.
Yeah. And covered us over with deep darkness, brought down to the dust. Then that line, considered as sheep to be slaughtered. Just utter vulnerability and impending doom.
Which leads them to basically shout at God, doesn't it?
Pretty much. Those gut-wrenching questions. Why do you sleep? Rouse yourself. Do not reject us forever. It's not quiet suffering.
No, it's a loud, distressed cry. Why do you hide your face and forget our misery and oppression? They're demanding answers from the very God they started out praising and boasting in.
So you have this arc, remembering God's power, recounting their current pain, insisting on their faithfulness despite it all, and then it moves to the end. The plea.
Right, the final verses. It boils down to this simple, almost raw appeal, born out of that desperation.
Rise up and help us, redeem us. That's the core of it.
And the basis for that appeal, even after all the questioning and the pain.
It circles right back to God's character. They ask for help because of your unfailing love, Hesed in Hebrew, that covenant loyalty, that faithful love.
So pulling back from this deep dive, Psalm 44 really takes you on a journey from this rock-solid memory of God's power
To this incredibly raw, painful lament about present suffering.
landing on a plea that still somehow holds on to God's nature, his love, all while wrestling with that huge question. Why suffer when you believe you've been faithful?
And maybe that's the profound point here. This psalm suggests that real faith isn't about always having neat answers or, an easy time.
What is it about then?
Maybe it's about the willingness to bring your confusing reality, your pain, even when it seems to contradict everything you thought you knew about God or your own faithfulness, and bring it directly to God, even in confrontation.
So it leaves you, the listener, with something to chew on, I guess. What does this text suggest about our own expectations? When life feels like that haunt for jackals, even if we think we've done everything right.
Do we allow ourselves that space to lament, to question, and crucially, to still appeal to that same unfailing love, even in the midst of the confusion?
Yeah, it definitely makes you think about the language we use, or maybe could use, for faith when suffering just doesn't make sense. It's quite powerful.